everybody. It's Safi and Marco dishing out on the movies. Well, today we have one of our weekly episodes of a particular show we're watching.
How many shows now, Safi?
Well, we have
1,
Master Chef Junior. We have
2, 3, 4, like 3 or 4 shows.
Yeah, and this one is The Offer, which is about
not the author, the offer.
The Offer.
The offer, not the author.
I know that, Marco.
Not the otter.
We're on episode 8, and it's called Crossing That Line. And this is the story behind the making of the first Godfather.
Safi, you're doing a review.
And so, do you want to start, Marco? Or?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to actually do the review. So we're here to review episode 8, Crossing That Line, which I will say was pretty good. It wasn't as good as last episode, which Safi said, I guess Safi liked it as much as last episode. I don't know yet. I think that it was a very simple plot. It was a simple episode. I was enjoying it because it seemed like a great story and concept where they're trying to get to Sicily. They're trying to do that sequence, trying to afford it, trying to find the money for it. And at the same time, they have a problem with the actor playing Talia Shire's husband. And they also have a problem with Crazy Joe. So, and then of course the guys, Joe is Joe Colombo is in the hospital as well. So you have those plots going on, and
you have a minor one with the guy who's married to Ally McGraw.
He's still having problems.
He's very upset about it, more than
because
you could tell by the episode in which he found out she was sleeping with Steve McQueen.
Because of his whore wife and what she did, or whore girlfriend, whatever the fuck she was.
No, she's married. They're married.
Okay. And you have those plots going on, and it was a pretty good episode. It really didn't have many low points, many negative aspects to it, many agendas, but there were some agendas, so that was a problem. And as well, they had a problem with accuracy, and that was a big issue, because once I find that out, and once that becomes apparent, that changes everything, and that means everything else I'm going to look at now, and I'm going to question, and I'm not going to be as enthusiastic, because if that thing is inaccurate, then how many other things are inaccurate? Like, I can't trust anything anymore. So that was sad, because that totally took away from the magic of the show, of being like, yeah, this is a narrative, this is a complete story, and feeling like it really happened, even though probably they changed some elements of the story. And the element I'm talking about, of course, is Crazy Joe. Because Safi looks like she's making a face. In the episode.
No, it's true. I agree. I begin to wonder.
What else is inaccurate?
Yeah, and I didn't want to think that way.
I know.
But I know it's done.
Yeah.
And so, Marco has been reading concurrently just little historical tidbits about these mafia characters. And so that's how he knew that...
let's explain what happened. In the episode, they want the money for Sicily, but they're supposed to pay that money to Joe, Crazy Joe.
Because he collects.
So
it's like any other mafia movie you watch. They go around and they collect a certain amount of money from the shop owners.
And he's a fucking retard, because they don't have any money to give gangsters. That's not how movie productions work.
Yeah.
movie production spend all the budget on making the fucking movie. They don't have money to give people as protection money. You know, it's just complete bullshit.
And that's
And
basically what it's been used for,
and
protection.
so this idiot thinks that they're going to give him essentially
$27,000.
all the money that they have to go to Sicily and film the best sequence of the movie, because that was the last thing they had to do, and it is the best part of the movie. If the movie didn't have that part, it would be missing that part for sure.
It would be missing a lot because it explains a lot.
It would be it's totally like the core of the movie where he makes the transformation. So that is just it's insulting that they were close to not getting that sequence. And there's this part where Crazy Joe comes on set and he's like, "You're gonna give me money by midnight, and maybe you can pay for my birthday dinner too."
Because today's my birthday.
That's the part where it was written very well, because that was hilarious. Because I looked it up and I knew, okay, it's at this specific restaurant where they have clams, and it was on his birthday, and so it was hilarious knowing that, and it was like very funny, because you just knew he's gonna die, and it's like, it's such a satisfying thing too, because he's such a shithead person.
He's dumb.
Yeah, he's a, typical.
He's kind of like a bully.
He's sort of like a lot. He's very typical of these mafia characters. Very low intelligence and very low IQ.
And the problem is he was a real person.
Yeah.
This isn't a fake character. It's somebody who really existed.
So he gets killed, and that's the way that they get all the money to go to Sicily. But the thing is that if we looked up online, and the Godfather movie was released in March of 1972. Crazy Joe was killed in April of 1972, a full month after the movie came out. So this is complete bullshit. He was not killed and then they have the money to go to Sicily. He was killed after they had already shot the Sicily sequence.
We want to know, where did they get the $27,000?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Because they acted like that was a lot of money, and even back then, I know it was a lot of money, but not. It's still like Marlon Brando, for example, probably made tons of money, and that probably would have been change in his pocket. So that's why I want to know where they get the money. So I want to know that.
I don't understand that. Like, why would they? It worked. I mean, it fit.
Movie.
It felt like, oh, this is another thing where it was totally connected, and so it's mind-boggling, because people can just go look that up. It's the same thing with when we talked about, what was that shitty movie, the musical Sound of Music. We talked about how Sound of Music, you can just look up all the facts on Google, and it's a completely different story than what was told. Mm-hmm. At least with that movie, it felt like it was a good movie, and it felt like it could have been a good movie even without the true story. Like, if you had just said this is inspired by that family, it would have been really good, instead of saying this is based on that family. And it's the same thing here where, well, no, actually it's different, because this show would not work very well if it wasn't based on The Godfather. It would not work very well, because most of it is going like, oh, that's cool, oh, that's interesting, oh, I'm glad they made the movie. It's all based around the fact that you want to see how this classic movie was made, whereas The Sound of Music could have just been an original story without that. So,
well, that's been known and publicized for a long time, that some of those facts about The Sound of Music, probably a lot of the facts, were not what they were. This is something different.
Yeah.
And this is very important. I mean, unless it didn't happen. In other words, unless they didn't need it. But to me, it was so much part of the story.
I know.
I can't imagine that it was untrue that they had a hard time. They were looking for this last money to go to Sicily, and I can't imagine that wasn't true, because there was just so much woven around it that it fit.
So that was the worst part. To me, it's sad because it was the best part of the episode, but it was the worst part of the episode.
Well, I wasn't even sure it was happening. I was.
I know.
Like,
Oh yeah, the way they cut it, the way
Yeah.
that they. Yeah, that was another.
I thought that was just something like, he had in his head, like, boy, I wish this would happen or something, which
Yeah.
I can't imagine he would have done.
It was like
that.
a fantasy, and
Yeah, that's what it was like.
I kind of accept that because they don't know who actually killed him. They don't know who did it. They don't know if he was responsible for ordering the hit on Joe Colombo. So they really don't know. Remember the Irishman? He said he did it. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
He said he did it. So, you have all these conflicting stories. You don't know what's true and untrue. And I kind of thought that they should have just not shown it, because the thing with the dialogue of like, it's my birthday today. You're going to pay for my clam dinner.
Well, let's say
And he runs away.
We have to say this too. The reason why he was so, the producer was very worried. He'd been able to finagle just about everything that had happened somehow and smooth talk it and make it work. But these people visited his hotel room late at night.
And they beat him up.
They beat the crap out of him.
Just because they found out. I guess they didn't believe him when he said he never paid Joe Colombo anything.
Yeah, they thought. And he told them. He said, he just told me, would I please take out certain things of the script? And that was our agreement. They didn't believe it.
So that was sort of the main plot of the episode, getting the money to go to Sicily.
Right.
And it will reflect in my review, because that's the main element of the episode. And then the other element, Safi, involves feminism.
Yes, Marco has a thing about feminism.
Yeah, I do, because you can have a movie, you can make a movie without these bitches, without this fucking anti-men agenda.
Yes, but
they've done it.
yeah,
Just did Top Gun Part 2, which was the best movie of the year. Why? Didn't have any fucking agendas in it.
okay, well, I don't know what to say about that.
I know you don't, because you didn't
Thing
watch
is,
it.
The guy was a beater, a woman
Yeah,
beater.
well, let's discuss why I had a problem with it. Let's discuss the
I
whole
don't know
incident.
if it would have happened that she would have pricked him in the butt with a hat pin
Well, we don't know. See, I don't know anymore. Did that happen? Did it not happen? Did they change that too? So what happened was, the actor playing the abusive husband, he was abusive in real life. He was doing a fitting, and he was just making some comments towards the seamstress, which that's fine. Like, who cares? He's not like threatening her or anything, so who cares? She can stand up for herself. She's not going to get fired for standing up to him and saying,
I'm sure
fuck
she's
off.
Had it done before.
So that's not really that big of a deal. But then he beats on Talia Shire for real.
And that, I'm just shocked. I'm shocked.
It didn't surprise me because it looked real. And I just thought maybe it's just really good filmmaking, like, back when they used to make good films. But that was a problem. However, the problem is sort of undercut after the problem is solved. Because what happens is the producer, Al, he has Jimmy Caan beat him up for real in the scene where he beats him up in the street. So in the middle of shooting, he just gives Jimmy Caan full authority to beat the shit out of him.
For real. Not
for real.
A stunt kind of thing.
Which I thought was really good. And I thought that was good. And I like that because
And I
that
wonder
was
if it happened.
that was a very smart thing to do. It wasn't like what the woman did over and over again. It was a very smart way to go about solving that problem. However, after the scene is done, the actor is happy that he got beat up. So,
yeah, because he thought, oh, I got beat up by Jimmy Kahn.
no, he said it's method acting. And
Oh.
but the thing is that means you could possibly say when he beat up Talia Shire that he thought he was method acting. Like, they didn't correctly make the distinction that, no, he was just beating her up because he's a jackass and he's a fucking abuser like Amber Heard, allegedly. And so that part was a problem for me because it kind of undercuts it. Like, if he's a method actor, that's one thing. But they're trying to make him out to be an abuser, and so you can't have two things. Like, it's either one or the other. Because if he's method acting, then the message should be about method acting. It shouldn't be about Me Too bullshit, feminazi bullshit. It should be about, okay, this guy's a method actor, so he's a loser. He's overstepping his bounds, and he's a jackass. It shouldn't be about, like, oh my God, he's a abuser. Because it's like, he's not. He's a method actor. Or is he an abuser? Safi, what do you think?
I don't know.
Did you think about that?
No, not at all, because I didn't hear that part.
I did. He said it's method acting.
And that does raise the question, but still, the
See?
guy was, his
See?
mouth, the way he spoke to that seamstress or whatever, wardrobe designer or whatever, it's just like the other thing. You could connect the two.
Well,
in other words, you
can't,
detect his
because
attitude.
What if he's method acting towards the seamstress?
But they're not in any scene
That
together.
doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Method actors do that on set. That's how they act. That's why it's called method, is because you never break character, no matter if you're talking to anyone.
You said that you had read this. I had never heard about it.
Oh, I just read that Jimmy Kahn beat that guy up because he had beaten on Talia.
You did read that.
I did read that, but
I'm going to have to look up in the...
You're just going to have to read that book.
I know. I want to read the book.
So, and then but that wasn't really what I had a problem with, because I liked that a lot. I thought that was satisfying, because Jimmy Kahn, he beat him up over and over and over again, and that was cool, because it was like they could get away with it. If the director or the producer had done that, it would have been an assault charge.
They would have gotten in trouble. Yeah.
But then you have this bitch, the secretary, who thinks that she's a producer, and she just goes right up to him and
punches him in the gut,
sticks a pin in him, punches him, and honestly, I had a problem with that. She should have been arrested and thrown in prison. In jail. Because that's assault. She assaulted him. I don't care, if she had justified reasons or not, she assaulted him. And you can't just assault people at your workplace.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the first Top Gun, I guess, where you can like that character in the movie, but you don't want to work with that character in real life because he'll get you killed. And with this bitch, she stabs him with a pin, and then she punches him. And no, that would be an assault charge.
I don't know.
I really didn't like that. What do you think about that, Safi?
Well, it wasn't right. I agree. But it gave me some satisfaction.
Okay, so you're admitting it was not right.
No, I didn't think it was right either.
Yeah.
She didn't even need to do anything. In fact, it would have been better for her not to talk to him at all.
Yeah, because the producer took care of it. The real, the producer, because he's the producer, he's the one who actually gets things done. She didn't get anything done this episode. She just assaulted him twice, and then she complained a little bit. She didn't do anything that a producer would do. So it's pretty interesting. Safi? What else do you have to say about the episode?
Well, really nothing. Marco said that after seeing that thing and looking that up about that gangster who was killed the same time that they were doing that sequence on the street. And, you know, like I said, I was not even sure that was happening. I thought they were thinking, boy, wouldn't that be nice if that happened? Okay, so according to the way they're telling the story, that's what happened, but what really wasn't what happened in real life.
We don't know.
So now
we do know he got killed in the restaurant. That's it. We don't know who killed him.
And a month after the movie premiered.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if that didn't happen, which it couldn't have, where do they get the money? That's what I want to know. Now I'm just like dying to know.
It just shows that, like,
very interesting movie though, and
that opens up an entire new thought. Watching the whole show is that I can't trust anything else that the show ever does anymore, because I don't know what they're making up and what they're not making up. In fact, Safi, did you watch the behind the scenes?
Yeah.
I did. Oh, so they didn't talk about, like, no. We made that up because we thought it would be really funny.
No. What they were talking about was the producer and what he was wrangling with, and then they actually talked to him, the guy who plays the drumming guy, the drummer. And
did anyone get to punch him in the face?
No. And
Damn
then
it.
They talked to I don't know who the guy is, the maker of the show. He's a kind of young guy, maybe he's in his 30s or early 40s. He has kind of whitish hair, and then they talked to the drumming guy, and those are the only people they talked to. And they might have mentioned the guy who plays Marlon Brando.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he
is really good.
Every time he comes on, it's like, oh, look, that's Marlon Brando.
God, he really is like him a lot.
He's doing a good job.
I just think I've got to find this out, and it makes me question, too, now about everything, but some of the stuff is just too closely knit
connected, yeah,
for it to be untrue. I mean, this kind of reminds me of the movie. In fact, maybe
I know.
The second
well,
movie
they're doing that on purpose.
Or they do.
Oh, don't spoil it.
Well, in the second movie,
I've seen the second movie.
There's certain things they do, and they happen at the same time, concurrently, and that's what it kind of reminded me of, actually, too.
Well, like the thing with Joe Colombo being in the hospital.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the Don being in the hospital. Yeah.
And Marco says there's 2 more episodes left.
Yeah, 2 episodes.
It'll be interesting to see
it's unfortunate
what they show about Joe Colombo, because Marco says that he
got paralyzed
from this. He was alive, but he was paralyzed. So what does that mean in terms of his power? He has no more power left. He still gets power, although it's limited.
What would you rate this episode, Safi?
I give it an A-.
Really?
Yeah, I would, because although the thing with the girl punching the guy in the gut and him getting stuck in the rear end with the pen, it's very satisfying. Because he said the filthiest thing to that girl.
What's satisfying is what Jimmy Caan did.
And that was satisfying, too.
You didn't need to do the thing.
But we didn't really see
pen.
it. We just heard it, remember? They didn't show it. You just heard it. And they said, do you want to... And the guy who's directing the scene, he says, do you want us to stop now? He's asking the director and producer, and they both know what happened with Talia Shire getting beat up by him, for real. They said, oh, no.
And another thing
continue.
with the agenda is how they had the scene talking to Talia Shire, and it came off like a Me Too agenda scene where she's like, I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to ruin the shot.
No, I believe that.
I did like
I don't
that,
care,
though. I liked
because
it.
back in that time,
It just seemed pretty agenda-driven.
there was no way. I don't think she would have been. I mean, not that somebody hasn't complained, but I don't think for the most part, if you would have complained, that they would have liked that. And so.
But they did something about it. So she complained and they did something. So, like, you can't even use that as a Me Too agenda scene because they did something about it and she did complain. So, I don't know. I did like, though, that she was like, I didn't want to ruin the shot. Because you know these actresses nowadays, like,
They would
for instance, you had this bitch on the new Bill Murray movie, and that bitch stopped the whole movie's production because she got offended by a joke that Bill Murray made. So they stopped an entire movie's production because this bitch got offended by a joke. What do you think about that, Safi? Do you think that's a good thing?
No. If it was something...
No,
he took his clothes off.
Oh, well, that's
in front
different.
Of her.
That's different.
You know, and threatened to rape her. I mean, some kind of dramatic, horrible thing. But this thing with the joke...
he offended me. Who cares?
Really? Was it really that bad? The guy has been making movies for years, and I never heard a word.
It doesn't matter if he makes a joke about school shootings. That's no excuse to stop the production of a fucking movie.
And they might have had if he had done something like that, they could have had a talk with him after and kind of investigated behind the scenes, but not stopped.
I would have laughed along with him.
I thought it would. I thought that the cost of making movies today is so high. I would think they would not want to stop the production of a movie, even if it's for half a day.
Yeah.
Would be terribly cost inefficient.
What I would do is laugh at her and then say, if you can't take a joke, then you're fired.
No, I don't know about that, but
because
still, I just don't agree with that. So
because, like, Talia Shire, she got assaulted by him, and so it's understandable that she would be upset about it and that you'd have to do something about that to that guy. But to stop an entire movie's production because he made a joke.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that they stopped it.
Yeah.
They could have handled it better, I think.
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk about that because it's related. It's like a similar type of thing because, like, back then, they didn't stop the whole movie and do months and months of investigating over a joke. But now, I don't even think I think they're still, quote-unquote, investigating it.
I don't know anything about it.
That's so fucking gay. I would give this episode a B+ because it was still pretty enjoyable. It was similar to South Park where it was enjoyable, but it really wasn't full of, like, great things that I could say, like, yeah, this is an A. So I liked it. Safi?
I gave it an A- because I could excuse all these little things because it's just made for a good story. I think the person who made this, I'll buy it. We have to find out about this $20,000 at the minimum. I think he did an excellent job. I mean, really.
With the casting?
With everything. I mean, just knitting it all together. Every week has been one thing after another thing after another thing. And this week it was the same thing. You had this mobster saying, oh, you have to pay me money. And the only money they have is the money they need to go to Europe to film this very important scene.
Which is terrible. It's
a
terrible situation.
And so you've had every single episode has had some kind of potential obstacle, and this was really close.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it was cutting it so close because nobody knew that guy had gotten killed. Nobody. And in fact, when the director, they're having a casting party. And
It's called a wrap party,
wrap
Safi.
party, right. And
and that is one thing I will complain about, because the lighting at that wrap party was very modern. It was not 1970s lighting.
well, the director was very downcast because
Yeah.
the producer told me don't have the money. I just couldn't find it, because he'd managed to pull through on everything that they've requested, and it had become a problem, but he still came through, and he was the problem solver.
And to be fair, he got that $20-something thousand kitchen. Maybe he could have said earlier on in the production, Francis, you either choose between Sicily or the kitchen.
Oh, who knows?
Or they could have done something like, maybe, didn't Mario Puzo, didn't him and his wife have a working kitchen? Why couldn't they just use their kitchen and make it look like it's in the same place? So I think that, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
It's fine.
We'll find out.
So, Safi?
So, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please press the like button if you liked it. And if you would like to become one of our subscribers, we welcome you with open arms, because you can make comments and you can watch the episode and tell us what you think about it and what you would do to change it, or if you think it should have stood, or what do you think happened, or do you know where they got the money?
Yeah, do you know, what
where they got
changed?
$27,000.
That completely takes away from the episode of, you have the satisfying story, and, it didn't happen that way, so what happened? I don't understand, that's so unsatisfying and anticlimactic.
Yeah.
So
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.